What's up, everyone? This is the Dark Pixel Podcast, and welcome. We've got some pretty cool topics for you today. My name is Kason.
I'm Landon.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And let's get right into it. So,
jump in.
First things first, we got the SNES Classic that we're going to talk about. Just announced, for us, was announced yesterday. You guys, when you see this, it will have been 2 days ago. Episode Prompto is out, and with that came the Ignis trailer. So, some interesting stuff there. Pokemon Switch and Metroid Prime 4 2018 release date. We're going to talk about what that means for Nintendo. RPG Maker for the 3DS, freaking finally. Then we've got some, what do we call these?
Some user-submitted topics.
User-submitted topics.
Viewer-submitted topics.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild HUD, and whether the HUD kind of inhibits the experience of gameplay. This probably goes for all games outside of Breath of the Wild. Or whether or not it's more fun to play and to turn it off and to kind of figure things out yourself. Another question talking about remaking bad games, and is it a good idea? Should we do it? Specifically talking about the new Shaq Fu remake coming out.
That's why. Yeah, I guess that's the only one. Yeah,
I don't know. And then the last question being: are there any games that you like or respect but have not actually played yourselves? So,
there's countries I like and respect that I have not actually visited myself.
I don't believe
that count.
You can't like something unless you've been there.
Yeah, I'm looking at you. Everyone in Micronesia.
Micronesia.
Yeah.
I hear Micronesia is pretty cool. Pretty chill.
Yeah.
So first things first, the SNES Classic. This, I don't know. How surprised were you guys by this?
So I think everyone saw to some extent this coming. Yeah. Like, I think we've been talking about it for a little while here. Mm-hmm. Microsoft even included it on a survey about what people were excited about seeing at E3.
Oh, so
like,
even though it wasn't announced yet.
It wasn't. And people like, do they know something? Which is like, no, they don't know anything. They just, it's so obvious that they're going to make one that, you know, it's like even Microsoft threw it on a survey for non-Nintendo people.
That's pretty funny.
So I don't know. I feel like I am really, really surprised that Star Fox 2 is
crap,
kind of the flagship
that was
game.
Surprising. Yep.
Yeah, that's freaking sweet, I think.
I think that's awesome. It makes me wonder about the company that made that game and whether or not they'll finally get some sort of compensation for making
Well, they were Nintendo employees.
Oh, that's right.
So they were paid salary for that time.
That's right. I remember they were still upset though because the game they'd worked on, that was their resume piece. It never got released.
Yeah, I believe it's Dylan Cuthbert. I think is one of the guys there who had.
He was American, right? He was
or British, I think, but they'd come over to work on the Super FX chip and all that.
The FX, that's
original
right,
Star Fox stuff. Yeah, he actually went out and had went out for some drinks with like the original team of guys from Star Fox 2 the day they announced it, and they hit up a place in Kyoto because he's still in Kyoto.
Oh, he stayed in Japan, huh?
Yeah, he's still in Japan. He's still working on games and stuff. So they didn't know it was happening.
Yeah,
they didn't know. They was just as big a surprise to them as it was to everybody else.
What, 23 years later, it finally comes out. 22 years later.
Yeah, was that supposed to be
95, 94, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because 64 was out in 96, I mean.
Yeah. Which was the reason why we didn't get it. Because of Star Fox 64.
Dude, if they canceled Mario RPG because Mario 64 was coming out that year.
Oh, dude, that would suck. That would suck. We wouldn't have known that it would have sucked, though.
You would have been getting it right now on this.
We'd be getting it now.
That's true. It's true.
We'd be stoked about Mario Rabbids, and all of a sudden this Mario RPG comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, why isn't there a Mario Rabbids D-make on the SNES Classic?
There should be a D-make.
They totally could pull it off.
This is funny though, because I asked for like your reactions if you're surprised or not based on should Nintendo have done it, but based on their response to the NES Classic and how they kind of just let it die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They kind of didn't capitalize, so it made me wonder whether or not they'd really capitalize on something like this.
I am surprised and not at the same time. I mean, it's not surprising because of how much of a hit the NES Classic was, and there's obviously a demand for it, and so you're going to, to make this as well. I think it's kind of a no-brainer business decision. But the reason why I am surprised is because I just feel that it poses such a strange, like, I don't know, like place for the Virtual Console if they're ever going to do that. Like,
I know, I've been thinking that too.
It's just weird that if they are still doing a Virtual Console, I assume they are, right, at some point next year.
Right.
Like, well, I don't know. Maybe that's an excuse, another excuse, not excuse, but another reason to not be so worried about the low number that they print, which will probably be the case with this again. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say it's limited.
They always just have the Virtual Console that the people can get these old games on.
It's true, yeah.
I would hope that when they do release the Virtual Console, that Star Fox 2 would be available on it, since they're going to do an official release like this.
See, here's the thing though, and I posted on Twitter about this, and people corrected me saying Mother 3, although it was developed for the Super Nintendo, was ultimately released on the Game Boy Advance. And so me saying, oh, Mother 3 should have been included here, because it was initially developed that way. But it brings up the question, I've been hearing that Mother 3 has been being developed for like the Switch Virtual Console. But are they going to hold off now though? And maybe put it on something else like the Game Boy Advance Classic Mini, or instead of releasing it in that big way, maybe kind of do it a different way. Kind of makes me wonder how these two things kind of are going to coexist.
Right now, I think the only platform that it would have a hope to live on would be the 3DS, because they actually have a Virtual Console on the 3DS.
True. The Switch will have one. I'm pretty confident.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah. With the day they announce GameCube Virtual Console for Switch is going to be a great day, but that might not be for a really long time. I remember being confused with the Wii Virtual Console. I remember being like, dude, I want some GameCube on here.
Yeah,
I want some GameCube.
Most games are under a gig. You can download them and play them.
I mean, the Wii. What the thing is, the Wii was a GameCube. We could just put GameCube.
I know
it wasn't a big deal,
right?
But you get the Wii.
It didn't have a huge storage capacity. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. I'm really pumped about this. I wouldn't have bought and did not buy the NES Classic.
I didn't. I wanted to. It's not because I didn't want it. It's because I couldn't find it.
But the SNES Classic is actually something I would put serious effort into trying to track down.
Yeah, me too.
This is my favorite console for me personally.
Of all time.
Me too. The SNES. And by the way, for all those people, if you're one of those people that calls it the SNES,
get out of here.
Please identify yourself in the comments, because I never heard anyone call it the SNES.
Yeah.
Ever.
And all of a sudden, like the past year or two, I've heard it a lot.
Yeah, and I've heard some people say, oh, it was a regional thing. The Chicago area in the United States called it the SNES.
Really?
But in all the commercials and stuff, Nintendo called it the Super Nintendo. Or if anything, the Super NES.
Yeah.
So that's what we called it.
Or the SNES.
SNES, we call it
Super
SNES.
NES. We just call it Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people saying, "Well, you can just sound it out, SNES. It's not that weird." But I'm like, "Yeah, but what do you call the FBI? FB? What do you call like there are things that sound better spelled, and there's things that sound worse like sounded out. You know what I mean? I don't know, Mike. Did you ever hear anybody call it the SNES growing up?
I didn't. It was just the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and Mike lived in. Did you live in Houston when the Super NES came out, or were you already back in Denver?
My friend had a Super Nintendo when I lived in Houston.
Okay, so we're not all from the same place here.
Just call it the Super Nintendo.
Jeez. You know what's weird though? 21 games. If you told me like last month and we had a talk and we didn't know what the games were and it was just, NES Classic had 30 games, the Super NES Classic has 21, I would have been a little let down. I'd have been a bit disappointed. But I have to admit, after going through that list, aside from like Chrono Trigger, which I think was a pretty unfortunate
big miss,
they actually hit on basically a pretty representative library of the Super Nintendo. And that's my personal opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but what do you think? Is it representative, or did they miss the mark by putting too few games on?
Well, I mean, they got Final Fantasy 3, which is pretty good, but they missed on Final Fantasy 2, which I think a lot of people really loved on the Super Nintendo. There's no NBA Jam, so that sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, NBA Jam, that's right.
There's obviously not Chrono Trigger, which I think is just that makes no sense to me at all.
That's the one, because they included Mario RPG Secret of Mana. They included Secret of Mana. It's like, dude, put Chrono Trigger on there. Yeah, Final Fantasy 3.
So that doesn't make any sense to me. They don't have like the Mega Man games. I think Castlevania 4 was a really big hit.
Turtles they did have a Castlevania though. I can't remember. Super Castlevania something or other is on
or was it on there? I
can't remember.
It's Super Castlevania 4. Yeah.
Castlevania 4.
Okay, so never mind. That's a one that you need to have on there. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have that Turtles game in there. Turtles in Time, do they?
No,
you're right. Turtles in Time. That was one I played a lot growing up.
Yeah, that was a big one. Did they put F-Zero on there? Was that included?
Yeah,
yes,
it's on there.
F-Zero is on there.
On there.
Yeah, that's good. I think for the most part,
Mega Man
it's
X.
Pretty good.
They have Mega Man X. They at least got one Mega Man in there.
Oh, they do have Mega Man X. Okay, so that's good too. Yeah, I would say there's only a few really.
Surprisingly,
you could have added.
This would have been an excellent opportunity for like Terranigma, I would say.
Oh, really?
Something like that, you know.
Like
because that wasn't ever released in America.
Yeah.
That was only released in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for the most part, it's a really solid list. I just think that the omission of Chrono Trigger just makes no sense. It's like
that kind of hurts. That's a game I want more people to experience. I want as many people to get out and play that game.
And it would be an unsullied version without cutscenes, people. It would be an unsullied version.
It wouldn't be the DS. It wouldn't be
I love the DS version. The cutscenes are too jarring for me.
I know. They're so different from
I don't remember where it was. I asked some poll sometime last year, you know, what do you guys think about the cutscenes? Do you like the cutscenes or not?
Oh, yeah.
And it was overwhelming, like, yes, we love the cutscenes.
Oh, really?
So I'm pretty much in the
fans.
minority, at least around here.
Yeah, that's funny.
I don't think they look bad. I would rather have, like, a consistent look to what I'm playing.
It's not what I imagined when I played it on the Super Nintendo. I wasn't thinking, and I didn't play the DS version or PS1 or any of that till, or did there's a PS1? Did that have animated?
Yeah.
I didn't play those until way later. And when I saw those cutscenes, I know the box art looks a certain way, but
it's
that doesn't
like Toriyama.
Exactly, yeah, but that doesn't, like, a lot of games have weird box art. You look at the game though, and it's like, okay, this is what I'm like. When I would play Link to the Past, I didn't really imagine Zelda looking like he does on the old Zelda or the old Link. Sorry, the old Zelda games, the old Link. He looks kind of goofy, right? I never really imagined he was the one I was
dangly
playing.
Orangutan sideburn looking things.
So for Chrono Trigger, and then all of a sudden to see the cutscenes like that, I was taken aback. I was like, whoa.
For me, it's more jarring than Final Fantasy VII's cutscenes. Like, at least, as far as the look and feel goes.
Not matching the gameplay.
It doesn't ruin the game for me, but anyways, that's a whole freaking tangent on that. Guys, tell me why I'm wrong.
The thing that's funny about it to me with Chrono Trigger is that I remember playing that on the Super Nintendo when I was young and not thinking that the sprites were done in the Akira Toriyama style.
Yeah,
I didn't see that style in my head when I looked at that.
Yeah.
So at first it was like, oh, this is Dragon Ball Z. What the fetch is
exactly?
But now that I know he originally designed those characters, you look at the character art, like the concept art that was originally there, and then you look at the sprites, it's like, oh yeah, it is. It's totally modeled after that. So it doesn't bother me so much. I think a couple of them are kind of cool, but I prefer to play with them off, which you can do on the DS version. You can turn off.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But I like the script in the DS version so much better than the original anyways.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the DS version is the definitive version right now. What am I saying? The iOS Android version's the definitive
with the smoothed out pixels.
I don't think they smoothed that.
They didn't do that? Good. I hate that so much.
Okay, are there any games on here that you guys like just aren't you could care less about? You would swap for anything?
And I wish I had looked at the list before talking about it, because
we got Super Ghosts and Ghouls.
Yeah, this actually is pretty great. I think that aside from like stuff that maybe individuals grew up with, that was like I grew up with. I'd go to his house my friend's house to play freaking NBA Jam. That's like what we did.
Yeah,
on
dude.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So like
it's like sports games.
But you know that
here.
I don't think NBA Jam is necessarily what the average person would think of when they think of the Super Nintendo, even though I would.
Yeah.
Maybe not outside North America.
Yeah, I think that really the only big one for me is Chrono Trigger, and Final Fantasy 2.
Oh,
or
yeah.
4. But
4, yeah.
Aside from that, I actually think this is pretty solid list of games.
Okay, what's crazy about this is looking at it. It has a lot of my franchise favorites. Like of all the Metroid games, my favorite Metroid is Super Metroid. Of all the Mario games, really my favorite Mario is Super Mario World. Of all the Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy 6/9 are my favorite Final Fantasies.
Right, 6 is so good,
3, and then Kirby Superstar is absolutely my favorite Kirby game.
That's the best Kirby game.
And A Link to the Past was the first Zelda game I played and is always kind of just going to be up there for me.
Yeah.
I don't like it more than Majora's Mask necessarily, but it just there's a lot of killer stuff on it.
And like in Earthbound, so much better than Mother 3. So
exactly. Take that, all you people. Great. Well, I mean, would you rather play as a kid or would you rather play as like some cowboy dude?
There you go. That's the question.
Mother 3 protagonist, some like private eye guy.
Wasn't Lucas supposed to be?
I don't know.
The Mother 3.
I know nothing about Mother 3. I
haven't played it.
I was trying to troll people.
Oh man. So yeah, SNES Classic, awesome. It's going to be a home run. Hopefully, I think Nintendo printed 400,000 NES Classics. I hope they at least print 1 million SNES Classics. Probably are going to need more than even that to meet demand here this holiday season.
It's just so weird that they release a Switch and they're already behind on production there, and then they're going to introduce this into the mix. It's just strange. It's just strange. It's not strange. Again, not surprising because of how successful the NES Classic was, but it's just surprising because of other factors. That make me question what they're doing.
It's true
because there was like that totally unsubstantiated rumor that the NES Classic was the product of like a real good deal Nintendo got on some parts. But that can't have also been the case for the SNES Classic. There's no way.
It is being sold a little higher though. Isn't the SNES Classic like $80, not $60?
Yeah, it's like $80.
It's $80.
Yeah, so it is a little more. So that could.
The NES Classic launched in a holiday season where Nintendo had literally nothing else to sell.
It's true, they had nothing.
It made complete sense because it's like, what else are you going to sell this holiday season?
But then this year it's like, they have a lot.
And they don't have a virtual console service on it yet. So what the fetch?
So that might be part of their strategy. In fact, it was only recently that we learned that Nintendo's online services are being delayed to 2018. That not like their paid online service, right? Which a lot of people speculate will include Virtual Console because once you pay for it, you're supposed to get a free game a month or something, right?
It will. They've switched that up a little bit.
So it's a library. Access, okay, so Virtual Console comes with it, and they postponed that to 2018. Now I don't know why they postponed it. However, the SNES Classic might be the reason why.
I know
people want to play these games, and Nintendo wants to take their money, and if they can buy this system and then Nintendo gives it to them again, the digital version, later, it's like double dipping,
Yeah, that's true. I think I know why, though. I think I know why. The Switch is incapable of running Star Fox 2. And until they can get that up to speed. It's so underpowered.
The FX chip, dude.
It's so underpowered.
Okay, I know when they missed. They missed Earthworm Jim, dude.
Oh, no,
you're right.
Totally.
Kinzer.
They should have had Earthworm Jim on there.
I can't believe it. That was actually really good gameplay.
I guess that was a Genesis game too, but
that's right. It wasn't single player.
But the Virtual Console, they have Genesis games, so what the fetch? Like, put it on there.
It's true. It's true. That's true.
Oh man, it's exciting though. Nintendo is slowly becoming like the company that is listening to their fan base more than they used to. A few years ago, we were so upset at them for what they were doing. Now, they seem to be giving us everything we want.
It's all those threats. Except for Virtual
Console. But that's coming next year. I mean, that's only a matter of time, right? But it's like they're... And Netflix, and I don't know when that stuff's coming.
Well, that's, I think, more in Netflix's hands. Than
Is it?
Hulu,
they don't want it on the Switch?
Well, The last thing I heard was it was like when
because none of them are on the Switch. I figured at least one of them would be.
YouTube. I don't know. Maybe Nintendo's offering them incentives before, but maybe they're not offering incentives this time. Maybe that's they decided to not do that. I don't know how those business deals work, so maybe it's not all on Netflix. But
it's interesting that there's becoming less and less to complain about with Nintendo here. Everyone said they didn't have any new IPs. Well, the last few years they've developed some pretty good new IPs that are very unique games, and you know, there's a lot of criticism they didn't listen to their fans, or they weren't remaking old games that people, or unreleased games that they were never releasing to the West. They're slowly starting to do all that, and they've fixed the Wii U by the Switch. The Switch isn't that different from the Wii U, but it's selling like crazy. So anyways, we're seeing a company that's transitioning towards its fan base, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, there you have it.
So number 2 topic is episode Prompto is out, and the Ignis trailer came with that. So let's talk about episode Prompto first. I haven't played it. Did you play it, Mike?
No, I've been holed up. My office is finally in a state in which it can be moved into now. So I'm going to go do that after the podcast and set it all up. And once that's set up, I might do a stream this week or weekend on the channel where I play through that. So
I've heard it's about 2 hours or so. It's
seems to be a comparable amount of content to the Gladio.
Yeah. But I've been reading about it. People are saying it's good. It's well done. The gameplay once again seems to be pretty different from Final Fantasy 15, but different in a good way. And so at least like Dreamcast guy was saying that he wants this gameplay implemented into the actual game via a patch, which is funny because that's what everyone said about episode Gladio and how that gameplay should be implemented into Final Fantasy 15 via a patch.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. It's like they're nailing this stuff a little bit too late, and I don't think you can have all these different play styles in the single game.
I don't know, maybe
it would be interesting if they could make it work once it's all out. Where you can
like switching characters and that switches.
It would be interesting if they could pull it off. It would be really hard to balance because you'd have to balance the whole game based on these new mechanics.
Because like Gladio would be way more OP. Nobody's playing as Noctis anymore, which is not what Square wants. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's likely, but I mean it would be pretty cool if they could make it work.
Yeah, apparently you can stealth kill people now, which is like super cool.
Sneak up and snap people's necks. People. Magic
robots.
Snap necks.
Yeah, I mean it looks pretty good. Can't speak for it because I haven't played it yet, but I think that the criticism to the battle mechanics they received on the main game has been accounted for. At least it was in the Gladio mechanics. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle a shooter. As long as it's not Dirge of Cerberus, I think they're on a good track. So.
that is the one thing to steer clear of, I guess. It's just so funny. And then did you watch the Ignis trailer then, right?
Yes, just watched it before we got started. And
so it didn't reveal much, but interesting nonetheless, right?
He gets captured by Arden, and Arden is gonna mess with him.
Arden's gonna
I thought the trailer was pretty well done. It built some intrigue there. I'm curious to see what happened now. Of all the stories, I think that was the one I was least interested in before, but they've done a good job at like giving me a reason to care about it, because I guess the way that, because they don't really say anything about what happens to Ignis in the game.
No, he just shows up blind.
I'm blind now, and that's the thing.
Cool,
and everyone's like, what the heck? Like, how did that happen? And I always assumed that it just happened during the course of that battle, like, because there's a big battle going on, and because they kind of, I don't think they ever allude to how long Noctis was like out. Like he was unconscious, like for how long?
Yeah. Other than that, kid's an adult now, right?
I sort of have a vague memory of that being mentioned in passing in some sort of like newspaper you pass or something. So there may be something mentioned of it, but they don't like have it in any of the dialogue or anything like that. Maybe he was out for a while and like there was a whole ordeal where Ignis was captured for a while. So that's at least what it appears to be. So I mean, I guess we'll see what they do with it.
It's interesting the way they did the trailer, at least. It's very, like, minimalist, very just suspenseful. They've got the rising chorus, and they've got, you know, very similar to how the first trailer for, like, episode Prompto was shown. It's pretty artistically done, which I personally like.
Yeah, I thought that it was an engaging trailer, at least. It piqued my interest, and I wasn't interested in it before. I was always very interested in the Prompto story because they kind of throw what he is at you out of left field in the game.
Yeah, apparently there's some surprises there.
Everyone's like, who cares? No one cares. Just be our friends still. And it has like absolutely no impact on anything. So,
oh man, so it's not like the Final Fantasy VII reveal of who am I really?
Because there was like no setup for it. So
that's so funny though, because Prompto is he's Cloud of the group, right? He's got
the Cloud
hair, he's got the look, he's got the emotional instability. Yeah, his personality is a bit too lighthearted, but you know, he looks like Cloud, and then they throw this whole thing in, and it's like, oh wow,
he's wacky Cloud.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyways, yeah, so there's some crazy stuff there.
Yeah, so I'll play that. I thought I'll set up as soon as I get the office set up. I'll set up a date to do a live stream for that.
All right, sweet guys.
People can
keep a sharp eye. Watch Mike stream the game.
It's Arden. You're kind of getting good chunks of Arden in like at least episode Prompto, it appears, and then it looks like in this one. So
it's funny because when it's just so funny how intertangled Arden is in individually each of their like stories. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So for all the people who want more Arden,
you get
more Arden, even if you don't get episode Arden.
Yeah, I don't know if episode Arden's coming because Arden's in all these other episodes.
They definitely will. I guarantee they'll do it. They'll totally do it.
All right, so moving on, the next topic, Pokemon Switch and Metroid Prime 4 have been detailed a little bit more because people were a little upset that they didn't show anything, which we talked about last week. It was fine. We didn't expect them to show anything for a game that's still earlier in development, you know. But anyways, people push and get upset, and so they've come out with a release date. It is 2018. So,
which is bonkers because
that's next year
for Metroid Prime. For Pokemon Switch, that's like maybe they've been working on that for a year, and I don't know.
Sure, Sun and Moon came out about a year ago, right?
Metroid, yeah. I mean, there were rumors about a Switch Pokemon like for this E3.
There is absolutely no chance that they did not start Metroid Prime 4 like the day after the Federation Force debacle.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
That is exactly when they started developing that game.
They said, all right, guys.
And that might be part of the reason why Retro is not the studio working on this particular game, because they were already working on something. And
it's true, yeah.
You couldn't just yank them off that and put them on something that all of a sudden they realized they'd screwed up with. So... You know, when you look on Wikipedia under different franchises and you can see how the releases are spaced out, you know, over years. And some of them some franchises you look and you're like, how did you, this was still popular. The previous one sold so well. How did you wait so long to come out with another one? Sometimes it's because, like Persona 5, they took a really long time to make it. But Metroid Prime 4, coming out next year, that's insane. Because that means that not only this year, but next year, theoretically, Nintendo is going to continue this pace of software release.
Nintendo is loaded for next year.
It's kind of crazy.
It's mad.
It's like they have a big first-party release every 2 or 3
every couple months
for like 2 years solid or something like that. Like, because there's the legit Fire Emblem coming out next year too.
Yeah, and not to mention, like whatever Retro Studios is working on.
Right.
Like people were expecting it this year. I mean, who knows? It could be 5 years. Yeah, but probably Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze 2. Or Donkey Kongo 2.
Donkey Konga.
You just bang on your Switch.
Oh, jeez.
But anyways, and then you know, people are talking about a new Smash Brothers that would just be a port of the Wii U. Like 2018 could be just as big a year for Nintendo as 2017. And that's freaking bonkers, because this year is is lit with Nintendo products. So, it's just freaking crazy. Not to mention, they might have the N64 Mini Classic next year, you know? It's wild.
That'd be crazy.
An N64 Classic.
That they could only, like, they'd struggle to find 20 games for that.
Yeah.
You know,
well, especially because they can't have any of Rare's games on that.
Oh,
Exactly.
it's true.
And that's half of their library.
Yeah.
Those are the best ones. I'm glad they got Donkey Kong Country, though. I mean, that's obviously Donkey Kong. That's a Nintendo property. But, you know, yeah, everything after that.
No Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo, Jet Force,
Dark,
Gemini.
No Gold, yeah. No Jet Force Gemini.
Dude, that game was sweet.
Jet Force Gemini. Holy crap.
Oh, man.
Yeah, on the Pokemon note, though, I feel like this was more to be expected because they said in the E3 presentation that we're roughly a year away.
Okay, yeah.
And so that I came away from that feeling like, okay, that's 2018.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of how
it might be holiday 2018, something that could easily be delayed and bumped out of the year.
Well, here's a question though. Metroid Prime 4 is not being made by Retro. Is it being made by the people that made Federation Force?
No, they're just saying it's like a team. It's like an internal team. There's like really no information on that.
How does Nintendo have a team to spare with all the stuff that they're doing?
Shigeru Miyamoto's clone.
There you go. He's cloned himself.
Dude,
who was bred to make Metroid Prime 4.
Okay, Krista was cruising around the YouTubes yesterday when she got an ad for a pet cloning service. And it was like, take your pet in, we'll get a tissue sample.
Oh my gosh,
and then
that's weird.
In the event that your pet dies, we will clone it, and it'll be... And the way they phrased it was like, it'll be physically the same animal, but personality should be the same, they were saying. Because, you know, nature and nurture and all
exactly.
that. But,
that's weird.
What the heck? They could clone Miyamoto and have him in a vault, ready to go.
Well, if you ever want your dog to be a puppy again, you just... Well, we don't have to get into that, I guess. But... True. If you can do it to a dog, you can do it to people. But there's no guarantee it's the same personality.
You can do it to Miyamoto.
You can do it to Miyamoto. But the question then being, what if Miyamoto grows up and like overthrows Nintendo and or what if he
overthrows Nintendo? Wait,
well
like
Miyamoto being the visionary that he was, likely isn't just going to go become an employee at Nintendo. You know, he's going to start his own company. He's going to reinvent Mario, and Nintendo's going to be screwed because he's going to be on his own thing, not doing what Nintendo wanted him to do, not coming to be their employee.
That's an interesting point about what certain people in history would do in a modern economy, modern context. Like, you know, I think that there is something to be said about entrepreneurial, like especially in the realm of gaming, like indie game studios being like a way to go versus like going and joining up a big
with a big
company.
One. Like if Mark Zuckerberg was cloned, would he start working for Facebook? I don't think he would. I think he'd start his own thing.
The thing is, he started Facebook, and Miyamoto didn't start Nintendo.
You're right. Miyamoto wasn't.
Miyamoto was like a hardware guy.
That's true. That's true. And then who's the guy who developed the Game Boy? I can't remember his name right now, but he was like
Yokoi. What's his name?
Gunpei
Yokoi.
Gunpei Yokoi, something like that. He did like repair. He would like repair their machines and stuff with like nuts and bolts. Like,
he's
he
just
wasn't
like a dude at the company.
Guy. Yeah.
You know what's funny? The guy who I'm spacing his name right now. The guy who created Pac-Man. Anyways, he never received any kind of bonus or like additional compensation from the company for creating Pac-Man. Like. The most iconic video game character in the entire world. And that's just Japanese business, though. That's just, you did your job. You were expected to do that.
Yeah, what did you... Yeah. If he wasn't famous, then you'd be fired. You know what's funny is that is how Japan works, but that is the difference between investing in like products and investing in people.
Yeah.
Right? When you're Nintendo and you recognize the talent you have and you know, give them their due reward for being a genius... then, you know, it incentivizes them to continue. Like the guy who invented Pac-Man, I don't know exactly what else he did, but it's not like he did the top 5 most well-known games of all time kind of thing, like Miyamoto did.
He's like an adjunct professor at some Osaka design college or something. But
and it's like if Namco did, you know, who knows? Who knows what he would have done? But
yeah. Well, deep discussion about cloning. There's the alternative that maybe they're just right place, right time.
Right.
And they weren't necessarily anything special. So
yeah.
They just had good timing.
You heard it here first. Shigeru Miyamoto's overrated.
Nothing special. Oh, geez. You did hear it here first. Which means his clone is also nothing special. So Nintendo invested all that money in cloning him. And yeah, exactly.
And thus, Metroid Prime Form's going to suck.
It's going to suck. That's just the sad truth. You know what is funny, though? Because you mentioned that they've gone so long with the Metroid series. They did make Other M, and that's the weird thing where it's like, I know a lot of people didn't like it as much, but it's not like they left Metroid completely alone.
Yeah.
Kind of like they did for Star Fox a little bit. They did make a game. It just wasn't well received. And when you make a game that's not well received, typically there is a waiting period before the next entry of that series comes out. So I don't know. That's just throwing that out there.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So the 3DS has an RPG Maker. So I actually heard about this from you, Mike. This is so funny because you didn't share this on Facebook. You just commented on Nintendo's post. But I saw your comment. It was the weirdest thing. That's been happening more and more. Yeah. So it's like you think you're commenting in private, but Facebook's showing that to everybody.
Yeah, it's true. Got to be careful what you say.
You got to be careful. Like, oh, holy fetch, I would have loved this when I was a kid. Got to be careful.
That's basically what I said. Now everyone knows about my secret 14-year-old lusts for...
There you go. Jeez. Now you're going to get ad after ad after ad after ad of RPG Maker.
Ad after ad after ad.
Oh, jeez. Anyways. So yeah, freaking RPG Maker for 3DS. This is the first of its kind, right, on the 3DS. I think there was something like it.
Is that what it's called?
It's called
Is that what the game is called?
RPG Maker FES. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's right, FES. Yeah.
And I'm sounding that out as FES, like SNES.
Like SNES. Well, no, it was capital F, lowercase ES.
Oh, right.
So it is meant to be.
It's super cool that it's portable. But
yeah, that's right.
The whole thing about RPG Maker for me, I didn't play the console version. I played the PC version or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Was that you could customize it so much because you could sit there and like paint your own sprites or alter sprites or whatever and make a lot of custom stuff.
Yeah,
we would make our own melody assistant MIDIs and import them into the game for our own music.
That's right, we did that.
So that aspect of RPG Maker for me was really what I found fascinating, was creating my own original assets as much as possible. Of course, they weren't very good, but I'm assuming it'll be very limited, the number of assets you can use in this version of the game, but who knows? Maybe it'll be cool.
No, I would assume so too. It seemed to be pretty stock what they were showing, but who knows? Maybe they included some sort of pixel something or other. I remember RPG Maker gave you the opportunity to like do a 3-frame loop of any
walk cycle.
Yeah, and I used that. I pixel arted Cloud playing an electric guitar.
Oh, nice.
And I had him strumming a guitar. Yeah, do you remember that, dude? Oh,
I believe that in Parker's game that he had our band in it, and that Cloud was one of the guitarists.
Yeah, yeah, he did. I remember that was in the top left of his game.
I don't remember for sure if that was it, but I do remember the Cloud playing guitar sprite loop animation. So
that was sweet. I hope you can do that in the in the 3DS. Is it going to be 3D? That's the question.
I guess
I don't think so.
You
I don't think so.
You could draw sprites. I mean, how many pixels tall by wide is it generally for 16-bit sprites?
16 by 16.
Is it 16? Oh, you're right. 32 is the
PlayStation. 32 by 30. I think.
Yeah, I think.
A lot of 16 by 16.
So
maybe 24,
I mean,
24.
Sure.
That would. I think the bottom screen on a DS would be accurate enough to draw something with that limited number of pixels, but
I think it's more than 16.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be in there.
Anyway. 16 by 16. It was more than 16 by 16.
I feel like that because that means just 8 pixels for the head.
I think so, dude. I mean, it's like
I might be right.
There were people
What
that
about
did.
like Street Fighter though? Street Fighter was
those ones are way higher.
No, that's true. You could go higher, but I think the default
Chrono Trigger,
because in RPG Maker on PC you had to define the grid yourself. So you give it a sprite sheet, and then you would tell it like.
So you can do whatever you want.
This is how the grid breaks down. So yeah, because people did some pretty good there were some pretty. My favorite sprites were Final Fantasy IX sprites people made. There was like a Setzer and a Vivi and a Steiner, and those are the ones I remember recoloring the robe on Vivi for to have like every different color of like Black Mage.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So if you can't connect to the internet on this one to get other people's stuff that they've made, because that's what's so fun
that might make it even better. Yeah, being able to
collaboration
go online and
yeah. But either way, they do that sort of thing in Animal Crossing already, so it totally works. But
do they really?
For T-shirt designs and umbrella designs and wallpaper and
so you can.
But those aren't like you're animating them, so
right. But a 3-frame animation's a little.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of fun. There's probably some kid that's going to get this and become a game designer someday.
Yep. Just like we were talking to the Shadows of Adam developers on the podcast a month or so ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying they got their start with RPG Maker back 12, 15 years ago. And
yeah, that's right.
That's how it is. Some kid's going to get this. The next Miyamoto's clone. That's probably what this game was designed for. They're like, let's give Miyamoto is now 8 years old. Let's give him something to start learning to make games.
He's not good at RPGs, though. He's got to do platformers.
That's right. He's only doing platformers.
Maybe Miyamoto's clone did Star Fox Zero.
They handed over the reins.
That was the test. They canned that clone. No good.
No, next.
Anyway.
It looks fun though. I don't know if this is one that I'm gonna get because I just don't have as much time to make. Yeah. I'm starting to get a little more into programming myself, and I'd probably want something more
to make a real game.
Well,
it's tough. It's tough putting so much work into something that you could never actually distribute as a game the way you would want to,
and that you just don't have as much.
This is a great training playground, so to speak, for playing with ideas and getting a handle on it. If there's something you want to actually get out there as your own original ideas, that's probably not It's not a bad idea. You can make some great.
You'll
stuff
learn the principles like action events and animations and all that stuff. You'll learn a lot of principles through RPG Maker, but. Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, the next.
Just make a real game.
Just make a real game. Use game. What's it called? Game develop.
If this had come out,
program,
which I think was my comment on the post, if this had come out when I was 14, I would have been all over it.
Oh yeah, me too. But absolutely.
It is what it is.
We were born too early.
Yep.
All right. So, in Legend of Zelda, and this is coming from Anders Bad Mai, who commented on Patreon. By the way, if you comment on Patreon, your comments will likely be in the podcast. Whereas if you aren't a patron, then there's no guarantee that you'll get in because we try and field as much as we can. And we try to keep these podcasts under 5 hours. So... what I know some people think our podcasts go too long, but we are trying to keep them short, okay? Anders Bad Mai says, and I have no idea where that comes from, by the way.
Yeah.
He says, in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I started playing with the HUD on Pro, which means you can only see your health. The map and special abilities disappear from the screen. Do you like to play that way? Personally, I'm going to play all my open world games that way if the world is as interesting as in Zelda. Otherwise, I feel like I'm clearing the map from objectives instead of discovering the world. And this kind of makes me think about just the HUD elements in video games in general. Not just Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild had a pretty minimal HUD as it was compared to most games. Like freaking Dissidia, Final Fantasy, the new NT.
The new Dissidia does have, it's like half the screen.
Oh my gosh, that HUD, I can't believe. For those of you who don't know what HUD means, just all the stuff displayed on your screen. Your health, display. Your magic points, your item menu, your controls, your map, everything. But Landon, you played on Pro for Breath of the Wild for a while, right?
That's all the entire time.
The whole time?
The whole time. I got off the Great Plateau, I turned off the HUD. I switched to Pro because I just wanted to get lost, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's why I've played the entire time, with the exception of the Divine Beasts. I turned it back on for the Divine Beasts because you don't have that map in the corner. And not like the Divine Beasts are especially difficult, but they are significantly more difficult if you don't have that to look at.
Yeah,
like that map is half the reason why a lot of them are as easy as they are, because you know exactly where everything is right off the bat. Well, I mean, once you scan the map. Point, but I really like it. But I mean, I think it's a you just have to ask yourself the question, why are they giving me the tools they're giving me, right? Like, why is there a map in the corner? Like, they're all supposed to help kind of establish like highest quality common experience between people.
For instance, in Horizon Zero Dawn, there's significant HUD elements, but there's a game explanation for that. She has like a tech piece connected to her brain that she's seeing all of these things, the waypoints and all of that stuff, right? And so to take that away kind of messes with the game a little bit.
Right. No, that's true. I feel like my initial reaction to what they gave you in the HUD with Breath of the Wild was like, I found the sound meter to be strange. I found
I don't look at that.
The weather forecast is useful, but the sound meter and then like the temperature, like you can gauge the temperature. There's visual cues for all that. Like you always know when it's gotten too cold because there's that pop of
the
frost and snow. Just pull.
That's right.
You know you've gone up a mountain enough for it to be cold, or he starts shivering, or you can see his breath. Like there's really good cues for that. Without the HUD, you're not like missing that information. What you are missing is the weather forecast. So you don't know when a thunderstorm's coming. And then of course
look at the sky, man.
Look at the sky. And then the map.
Lick your finger and hold it up. One day the game will let you do that.
And then you also don't have the special powers on the left. You don't see.
Your
when those are charged up, but you hear when those are charged up. So
right.
You're not ever necessarily confused about that. So I just liked it. I just felt like it was cleaner, but it's weird because like Krista has played the entire time with the HUD on, and it's almost weird for me to watch her play. I'm like, oh my gosh, all this information.
you sort of know where to go now.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a bad thing. I think those are all like tools they gave you, and I appreciate the option. Like we were talking last week about, and I forgot to mention this on stream. But somebody brought it up again in the comments on last week's podcast. But about Monster Hunter World, like with the damage numbers, like you can turn that off.
Yeah.
And I think you were saying this last week, Mike, about like control schemes where you should always be given the option to completely customize.
Yeah.
And I think HUD's an easy thing to turn on and off. So.
Or even certain elements like pop.
Yeah, so I like having the option there. I think it's great, but it makes things harder in some ways, but not really. It just is another thing to like get used to. So I just found when I have mini maps in games, I find myself looking at the mini map like a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And I feel like sometimes that's a good thing because I would be so turned around without it. But then sometimes I feel like I'm not like present. I feel like that's like. It's like my cell phone in real life distracting me from like where I actually am and the people I'm actually with that I want to engage with. Instead, I've got this little mini distraction that's like anyways, that's a whole.
I got you.
That's a whole other thing, but that's just my personal take on it. I haven't beaten the game yet. I'm like so close, but the whole time I've been playing it with the Pro HUD. So.
See, I have not. I turned the HUD off for a little while, and I just wanted it back.
Yeah.
I end up playing with it on, and I think that's fine. It's been a wonderful experience. Breath of the Wild is maybe one of the few games where turning off the HUD can lend to a more optimal experience because of what the game is. It's not about waypoints and objectives. It's about getting lost and adventuring and, discovery and all that. And in that sense, you can do that just as well with your map on, off, seeing any of that stuff. You don't need any of it. You can discover and figure out and go where you want without any of that stuff. But most games aren't like that. Most games aren't about exploration. They're about discovery, they're about objectives and waypoints.
Yeah.
And in those games, it sounds like you just need the HUD to stay on.
Sometimes it's making up for something, but In this case, it's not.
Yeah, it's true.
If and when I replay Breath of the Wild, I think I will play it without that, because the way everything else is structured lends itself to that minimalist sort of style. Like in every other way in the game, they kind of are minimalist. So a minimalist HUD feels right. And see, I just said HUD instead of HUD. How people feel about that?
I said HUD also.
I say HUD, but I don't know.
Because, I mean, if the argument is that it's not pronounced FB, then therefore you can't say HUD either. You have to say HUD if you're going to be logically consistent.
Better.
The inconsistency. Well, the SN, the SN, like other than words like snark or snot, which are kind of like onomatopoeias to begin with, English doesn't really mix those two consonants like all that often, I guess. I don't know. It's just SNES it just doesn't flow. HUD flows. FB doesn't flow. Anyways, NES flows, but SNES is just weird. Starting a sentence or starting a word with those two consonants just sounds wrong. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyways, yeah, I think that game lends itself very much to that. So next time I play it, which will probably be on its hard mode as well, I'll just do the hearts.
Which is just a couple days away.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's really soon. It's the end of this month.
Yeah.
I remember Anders Badmai, he also said in his post something I neglected to mention here, kind of on purpose, just to keep it concise. But he also mentioned when Skyrim comes out on Switch, and he's going to replay it again. There's many people will. He's planning on playing that game with the HUD off as well. Like this whole experience of playing with no HUD has really opened his eyes, I guess, to the possibilities of fun within games without being told what to do all the time. But I don't know if Skyrim works as well.
Well, Skyrim is already pretty minimal. It's not like distracting. You just have the waypoint compass at the top for the most part. And your health bars and your magic and stamina come and go as they need to be shown. But I did find myself playing that game like load up a quest, have it selected, turn towards the waypoint, walk that direction.
Which I still do in Breath of the Wild, to be
see, and that was part of the reason why I turned off in Breath of the Wild, because like I would use the landmarks that I could actually see, and Breath of the Wild's designed very well. Like Skyrim's actually designed pretty well for this in some ways too, because most places that you're at, like you can see the throat of the world, or at least you can kind of tell where it is. Like it's almost like the Vegas Strip, and you know how like you can see like you can see the Eiffel Tower. Down a little ways, you can see where Treasure Island's Trump Tower. You can see Trump Tower. You can see Treasure Island, you know, down there. And so I can't tell you how many times you've probably done this too, Mike, where it's like, I'm gonna walk down there, and you freaking you get there, and it's like this was way farther than I thought, and then you're there, and you're like, now I gotta walk back. This was so far.
That's how Washington D.C. was. Yeah, everywhere you go, you can see the Washington Monument, that big obelisk in the air. And you're like, oh, I can walk there, and it takes a long freaking time.
Apparently, it's like the Disneyland principle, the way Disneyland was laid out, right? Like you can always see
the Matterhorn and the
Matterhorn and the castle. Yeah, the castle orients you. And
that's right. Yeah.
Again, Disneyland's designed to make things feel farther away than they really are. It's almost the opposite. But like you have that visual orientation. And I feel like Breath of the Wild does a killer job of maintaining that visual orientation. I feel like Skyrim does a pretty good job of it too.
Yeah.
When you have that, I feel like you can get away from things like a compass and waypoints and just trust yourself a little more. It just there's a little bit of a learning curve there about like finding your own way, you know?
Yeah. But I find that games that do that, the topography always ends up being more memorable to me. It's like I'm not confused about, wait a minute, where was this? Because someone just told me to go to that place, but I have no idea where that is. In Skyrim, I always knew where everything was.
Yeah,
because I remembered it. It was memorable to traverse and to and when you found things. So I think that Breath of the Wild is very much the same way. It's very easy to remember where things are in the world.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I agree with that.
That's cool. That's not like there's not a wide reuse of assets in Breath of the Wild. Like the mountains are all pretty distinct. Like the mountains around Kakariko have that rounded out, like top, where no other mountains in the whole game have that look.
Yeah, that's true. Really strong, distinct silhouettes for things. Yeah.
And then in Gerudo, you've got those flat top mountains, the plateau, and then, you know, Lanairu, whatever, the other one, the blue one. You've got your ice-capped mountains.
Yeah.
It's just really cool the way they did that. So, I don't know. I don't got anything.
I'm all for that kind of. I'm all for trusting the player a little more. Like
I like the minimalism too, especially when I see games that overdo a HUD. I can really think like, holy crap, what are you looking at when you play this game? You know, do you really need all this stuff?
Sometimes I feel like you're flying a fighter jet or something.
Yeah.
You got a lot of meters to pay attention to. They're all important.
Yeah,
this is the best way we could do it, man.
You need everything on there, dude.
We tried. Okay, Mike. Actually, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if we got to ask you about Dissidia.
Oh, did you get to play it?
Last podcast.
Totally forgot to talk about it. I played Dissidia twice, and I played Zodiac Age twice.
Oh, cool.
And I mention anything about those games when I was 8-3?
What the fetch, dude? Final Fantasy.
I don't know how I forgot that, but Zodiac Age, first of all, it was interesting because I played it last year at E3 too, but I hadn't played the game yet.
Right.
I just remember in our video, because we made a video about E3 last year, and I was making fun of his abs and his back muscle textures and stuff like that. It was like, in HD, this is messed up. Like this, it was messed up in the original game, much less in HD.
Yeah.
But they fixed it,
couldn't tell
so that's a good thing. He looks normal now.
Cool.
Graphics wise, like it's crisp and it's clean, but I also feel like they saturated the game a lot.
Oh, really?
I'm not a very big fan of, because I feel like the color palette that they had originally selected really worked for the tone and the setting and everything. I think most people probably won't notice it. I don't think it's a terribly huge deal, but I did feel like there was a lot more vibrant color, which is kind of common, I think, these days in these remasters and stuff. You know, I think that games in the 2000s, before the 2010s that we're in now, they sort of trended towards these real desaturated.
Yeah,
looks.
I think they did. Yeah.
And people got tired of that, and so now the response to that is just the total opposite. Everything's so bright and everything's so colorful now.
Yeah.
And, you know, new games are full of color, and I think that in some cases they can take it too far. And I think this is one case in which it was better to leave it a little less saturated, personally. But I don't think it's a deal breaker by any means. I think it still looks really good. But the new job system in it is really interesting. Like, there's still, it's the same principles apply to license points and license boards, but it's just that each character's class has a specific sort of progression of those abilities. They can't have access to all the abilities, just the ones that are available to that class. So you kind of unlock it on more of a path. It's not quite linear necessarily, but there's just a lot fewer of them, and they sort of go in like a snaking path a lot of times. But you can, at any point in that license board screen, you can press triangle and switch to the second class of that character. So each character can have two classes, and you unlock the abilities. And the abilities not only are, like, in the original game, they had the abilities and the equipment separated. So they had like a license board kind of at the bottom left for the equipment, and the top right was like the abilities license board. And those are all kind of intermixed now in their license boards. So the only major change that I noticed, aside from that, I mean, that's a pretty big change, but where I started out in the first demo was in Aryut Village, like the bunny people's forest village.
Oh, they started you there? That's like halfway through the game,
well, that's where that particular day's demo started. In the next day when I went back, it was back at the beginning of the game when you're escaping like the prison.
Oh, cool, yeah.
in the Ariute village at this particular point in it, which is after you save Mirn, there's an accessory that becomes available at the shop there called the Golden Amulet, which doubles the license points that you earn. So you can you can level up a lot faster. Not level up, but gain abilities a lot faster on the license board. It was not available in this version. And I thought about the reason why that might be. First of all, it could be because that particular, well, I don't know how the license board is going to work with accessories this time, because everybody had access to the same accessories in the original game. Is the Golden Amulet only available to a particular class, or is it still available to all the classes? You know what I mean? Or did they take it out of the game altogether, considering you can go 4 times speed now and fight monsters really fast?
So that's kind of an artificial means of, instead of the amulet, it's like, oh, you can kind of do the same thing. Huh.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if you could use the Golden Amulet and go 4 times speed, because you'd freaking like earn abilities in 15 minutes instead of in 2 hours. But and speaking of that, I used it quite a bit, the 15 times speed stuff, and it was confirmed to me how great of a feature that's going to be for me, because of the long travel times between places that I've done 2 times now on normal speed.
I was gonna say, you got to beat this game a 3rd time again before your review comes out. So.
Yeah, so it really is a lot faster. It's like a thing I have to turn on and off constantly, because it's going so fast that I'm like running into walls and things because I can't compensate quite fast enough.
Yeah, it's like getting a mushroom in Mario Kart, and you're like, it's supposed to help you, but so often you just run into a wall and you end up going slower and people pass you. That's funny.
Yeah, and I was fighting the Elder Worm is the boss. It's like this big dragon that's sort of like covered in trees and weeds and stuff.
Yeah, dude, that thing is freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's a tough boss for most people, and I was fighting it, and I was using the 4 times speed to sort of just like check how that would be like in longer battles and stuff. One thing that I noticed, I tried to summon Belius, the fire esper, and I used 4 times speed while he was out, and it still felt like it took longer for him to like wind down his timer to his big attack than in the regular game. It felt like it was like significantly longer. You had to survive way longer to get him to do it, and I don't know why, because their attacks weren't that powerful, to be honest, in the original game. So
weird.
Anyways, I that's just what it felt like, and because I was like zooming through, and I was like, when is he gonna do it? When is he gonna do it? And I ended up just like killing him, just whittling his health down with Ash and Belius, rather than getting him to do his like summon attack. So I have no idea why it takes so long, or if maybe there's a new ability tied to that. That's just a totally wild guess speculation, but it did seem longer to me. So
interesting. So they aren't going to let you use that or take advantage of that, I guess, to get your summons to do things quicker while you run away or something like that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So overall, good experience. Cool. Same old game, just with a new class system. Should give a nice twist on it for people who played the original. With Dissidia, it is very different. For anyone who's played the original Dissidia games, and you have muscle memory tied to those buttons, oh man, this is going to throw you off bad. Like, the way it worked in the original game was the R button was kind of like your locking on button to something. And so you would hold R to like lock, and then you'd press triangle to like zoom towards you know, whatever it was you were locked on. You kind of like fly forward really fast towards it, which made sense. Triangle is like an up, you know, it's up on the. In terms, it's like the top button, so it's up, and it's like a triangle pointing forward. So it makes total sense. It's like, boom, I'm going that way with that button. And now it's just R. Just the R, just the shoulder button does the zoom,
no way.
Not triangle. So I was thrown off by that. It used to be that your bravery attack, I think, was circle, and then your your, what is it called? Regular HP attack is square. So the way this game works is you have a certain number of bravery. You can kind of think of it like a shield, I guess. And when you do a bravery attack, it lowers your opponent's bravery. And if you get that bravery down to 0, they break. And then at that point, any bravery attack you do increases the amount of damage you'll do on an HP attack. So say your character has 3,000 HP and you have a bravery of like 648. I would use bravery attacks to decrease the bravery until you hit breaking point, which is 0. Then at that point, if I hit you with an HP attack, it's not going to take down. Well, first of all, the breaking will increase exponentially the amount of HP damage I do, but you just keep trying to build up the amount of HP damage you'll do by using bravery attacks, and then when you use the HP attack, it like can do tons of damage. That's kind of the system in Dissidia.
It's so like Bravely Default.
Yeah, in a way. So the bravery system works the same in this, but bravery attack I think was X, and I think HP was still square. Anyways, the whole button layout was totally jacked. It was like way different, especially for just stepping into it and like having, you know, close to 500 or 600 hours into Dissidia games between the two previous to this. I was just like, whoa, this feels very strange. But it looks and plays very well. And, you know, it's a 3-on-3 kind of thing. So we had like 6 different players, I'm guessing on 6 different consoles set up. And there appeared to be any lag or anything like that. Or any like skipping or, you know, any problems with frame rate. Despite all of the stuff going on, tons of effects and magic and stuff.
Nice. Cool.
It was very fun too, and the team I was on, I think all of us were Dissidia veterans, and the team we were against were definitely not. So the battle ended so fast that I didn't feel like I had a chance to really like get a sense for like what do all the buttons do, you know. So I got back in line the next day and tried it again, and it was the same story. It was like I was just sitting there messing around trying to figure out how, okay, what's locking on, and you know, you use the right stick to press it in to lock onto things. I, you know, kind of guessed that. It was over again, and I was over. Like, dang it. It's like 45 seconds. I don't have a chance to really get a feel for it. So
that's funny.
That was my experience with Dissidia.
All those people going to E3 to flex their Dissidia muscles.
Yeah, dude, just get back in line.
Wipe out some noobs.
Yeah,
pretty much. It was a long line too, so I waited in line twice for probably about an hour each day for that game. So
for a total of a couple minutes of gameplay, is that?
I would say it's very possible that I played less than 2 minutes.
Jeez, man!
Holy crap!
It's BS.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. So I wasn't doing it a third time.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you get to play as Soldier Cloud?
Figured out. I played as Cloud the first time, and then I played as Zidane the second time.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Cloud was... I was much better with Cloud. And that's very weird because it was the opposite in the original Dissidia games. I was much better with Zidane. So the balance of the characters is obviously not going to be the same as before. So, you know, it's the same thing with Smash Brothers games. You know, I'm a Marth guy in Melee, and I'm totally not in anything after that, so...
Because Melee rules and everything else drools.
Everything else drools.
You hit it on the head. That's exactly right.
Scientifically provable. By the way, the guys that work at the sushi place are freaking, like, really good at Smash. Like, unbelievably good.
Which one?
They're
which
Asian.
Version do they play?
We play Smash 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're Chinese, but they're... I don't know if that explains anything, but they're freaking phenomenal.
They're really good.
It bugs me so much.
They just beat you all the time.
Yeah, they do. I have not yet beaten either Jacob or Ammon. All right. So moving on to another question from Velhart. Very interesting one. I don't think it happens all that often, but it does happen. He says, what are your feelings towards remaking bad games? Hypothetically, say one really did great sales, but reception-wise... Like, for example, the new Shaq Fu coming out. The original Shaq Fu game wasn't very good, but because it was Shaquille O'Neal, it still sold well, right? I think Charles Barkley's Shut Up and Jam also may have had a similar situation where it sold well but wasn't critically. It wasn't like a great game.
Is it true that Shaq Fu sucks? Because I've never played it.
You know, I haven't either.
You totally have played it. We played it on this channel.
Oh wait,
was it back in the day?
We played it
when we started the channel out.
Early on the channel, we did it on one of our Throwback Thursday videos.
Oh my god!
It wasn't memorable.
Freaking heck! I'm trying to.
It's not very good.
Okay, maybe that's why.
It's a fighting game, but it's very it's easy.
That starts to sound familiar.
Yeah,
that starts to sound familiar. I think good fighting games, there's very low tolerance for like imbalance and lag and issues with attacks. Like fighting games probably sound like the easiest game to make, right? But
because it's not open world. And,
Huh. Okay. Well, dang, I had forgotten about that.
Or Realansky plays.
Mike's looking it up. So remaking bad games is interesting because some games may not have worked in their time, but they were still a good concept. They were just kind of. I can't really think of an example. But
I'm gonna go
grand total of 314 views.
314.
Oh, we broke the 300 mark.
Here's your link. Right there.
This was years ago, by the way.
All right, I'm gonna watch that. Holy crap!
Velhart was also saying, like, maybe, you know, if we haven't played these games, which apparently we have, but if we don't have much to talk about here, we could at least talk about what are some bad games that maybe we would still like to see remade, even though they weren't very good.
Huh. That is...
Well, I think the idea of a remake lends itself perfectly to a bad game.
Yeah, for some reason, only good games get remade, and the remakes always work.
Because it's all about... marketability and that sort of thing. Like, you take something people already liked, you already know you have an audience for it, and it'll sell. So
and
that
it won't be as good as the original, but it doesn't have to be because it'll make money, right? Yeah.
But yeah, like in a perfect world, I mean, it makes way more sense to remake a bad game. Try that again. But
Quest 64.
But Quest no one 65. Would buy a Quest. Well, people might buy a Quest 64 remake because it's famous for being so bad.
Right, it's like infamous, right? Yeah.
Would people buy, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really bad game that nobody remembers because it sucks.
Well, I was going to say like Superman, Load Runner. I was going to say Superman 64, but that's Superman. There has been another Superman game later on that did fix problems.
Famous. Pretty famous for being bad too, so I think that if it was like marketed as a remake of Superman 64, there'd be some level of cult
of interest. Some cult. Yeah, activate the fan base.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of games that have sold well but not had a fantastic critical reception.
Freaking, they got to make if they did a remake of Wand of Gamelon, for instance.
Oh, there you go. Now you're talking.
Gosh.
That would make sense to me.
Zelda actually probably would. Maybe you can. Yeah.
It was not a Nintendo Zelda game being remade by Nintendo, done right this time. That could be cool.
I mean, I'm sure between all three games, you've got some. I mean, I believe in the third one, you're actually playing as Zelda herself, fighting, right? Yeah. I mean, there's stuff from all three games. I'm sure they could put something together. I don't know that Nintendo would do that, but that is actually the most intriguing thought that I've heard yet, Mike.
You know, Spirit of Speed 1937. That game should probably be remade. actually be good this time. You know what I mean? You can't do that because who's going to buy that? Who even bought that in the first place?
Right.
But it's a game like that, I feel like. A game that where maybe a developer had certain ideas or a lot of ambition for something, and you know, it was their first game, or they just didn't have the time or the resources, or you know, weren't in the right place at the right time, kind of like we talked about before, and maybe had things gone differently, they could have made something pretty special, but who knows, because we'll never see a remake of that game.
Yeah, I've got a thought here, and I think that if you go back too far, like to the Atari, and you like quote remake a game from the Atari. It's not even a remake anymore. You are using nothing. Like I had the thought of, oh, they should do an E.T. remake, right?
Okay.
But it's like that would just be E.T. First off, it was already a movie, but it would just be this 3D game that would literally in no way resemble the original. It wouldn't. I wouldn't even consider it a remake. Like even the Final Fantasy VII remake, being what it is, already is so different. Yeah, exactly. It's so different from even the PS1 era game.
I don't even
if you go back
before that,
yeah, if you go back before that, it's just like that. It's not a remake. It's just a new game with that name on it.
It's a fetching new game, entirely new game.
Yeah,
with the same storyline, and
more or less.
You know,
exactly.
We've talked about how in the past how I think a true remake is what the Resident Evil games have done.
Oh yeah.
Their remakes. Those are remakes. That is what a remake is in my mind. And I think that if you go back too far, there's just not enough substance to E.T. the Extraterrestrial 1982 on Atari to merit any kind of remake. I mean, they could, but it wouldn't make the game better. The game sucked. You know what I mean? Like the game itself, regardless of like how crappy Atari games looked and sounded. For the most part, it's just like there's nothing to that.
There's exactly. Oh, what if Michelangelo did like a remake of the Sistine Chapel, but like I don't know, completely
new
3D,
style.
right?
3D.
Everything's like around you and it's all popping instead of being above you, because with this new technology you can actually see things below you now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if just thinking of putting like a remake into the vein of like art traditionally, and comparing what a video game considers a remake to what any other art piece would be considered as a remake, right? It's so different. Video games, it's like that is not the same thing at all. Whereas in basically every other medium, it's like, okay, like Ben-Hur, Shot for Shot from the 1960s was a remake, not shot for shot, but very close. It was very similar to the 1920s version of the same name. Anyways, but it's just so funny to even consider. So if you're going to talk about a remake of a bad game that will really be a remake, you've got to be like N64 and on, I think.
Oh, right.
You can't go too far back, otherwise it's not a remake. It's just a new game, because you can't do that anymore.
Do they make Phantasy Star games anymore? I haven't heard about any Phantasy Star games in a while. They're still cranking those out. Because I really dug playing Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah, online?
1 and 2 or whatever.
If they remade online, open world. Just kidding. Yeah. That was a joke.
I wanted that to be so much better than it was.
Yeah.
And that's something I could get on board for.
Oh, totally.
I'm not saying Phantasy Star Online was bad, but I am saying that the amount of time we put into it versus what it actually had to offer
they didn't correlate.
Way out of whack.
Yeah, maybe the way they should have.
Jeez, that was just...
It's true. A remake of a game like that, because that game did have at least one thing it did well, as far as integrating the social aspect and having multiple people, getting people together to go take on a mission all together, right? Everything else wasn't very good, but the that just sense that the game had was good. So keep that, remake everything else.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't even remember what the story or any of that crap was. Like,
gosh.
That's the thing with that game. I wouldn't
trying
know
to like
what was
save someone, or
what part would I even carry over? Like the tech and stuff is cool, but
yeah, you got that central hub you keep coming back to. That place at least looked pretty cool.
It looked pretty cool. That game was just so repetitive with its like the layout and design and stuff. Was too bad.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think Shaq Fu has been a game people have never forgotten about, though, and a lot of bad games people just forget about. So Shaq Fu, because the concept is so whack.
It's so different. Yeah, it's so weird. That game, the remake game, actually does look pretty fun. So.
Well, it's actually a sequel. It's Shaq Fu 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
well, there you go.
Shaq Fu 2 is true.
Shaq Fu 2 is true.
It's a sequel. That's even funnier.
That's even funnier. What bad game deserves a sequel? That's a whole new thing.
Shaq Fu 2: A Legend is Reborn, and it's actually related to our freaking Shaq Fu video.
No way! Oh, that's great.
Oh, sick.
5 minutes long. Holy crap! I'm gonna watch this.
Wow. Dang. What the heck?
Call me Super. It's Shaq's voice, dude.
Oh, he's in it. They got him to be in it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Dude, that is Shaq's voice.
I mean, he was in the original.
He is way more shredded than he is in the real. That's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, especially now.
He just sits in his
neck is
all day
freaking gigantic. His freaking neck is like unbelievable. That's the biggest neck I've ever seen on a video game character, and that's saying a lot.
Is it pixel art still, or is it?
I think it's 3D. Yeah, it's all 3D. Wow. I remember seeing a trailer for it.
It's got a it's what do you call it? Like it's
like stylized.
What is it called when you go and get your picture drawn by a guy and he like really exaggerates
like a caricature?
It feels like a caricature.
Huh.
A little bit, but
Jeez.
But yeah, fully 3D. Shaq fighting dudes.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I think the most interesting thing from this particular discussion that Velhart prompted was Nintendo taking the properties of Wand of Gamelon,
the Philips CDI stuff.
Yeah, the Philips CDI stuff, and you know, trying to make something out of it. That is an interesting possibility right there, dude. A Philips CDI Classic Mini.
What the hell?
That's what's coming next, people. You can have Hotel Mario. You can have all the classics. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, that other Yoshi game, that weird Yoshi game on there.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Some of these comments are really funny on this video, this Shaq Fu 2 video. Because the game is so renowned for being bad, so like a bunch of people being like, I'm sorry, Shaq, I'm trying to start a family, I can't do this again.
That's wonderful. I love that.
That's great.
Dude, people on YouTube are so smart. Like, they're so dumb, but they're so smart.
You get enough people in a room, and it's like monkeys with the typewriter writing Shakespeare, right?
Yeah, someone's bound to be smart.
Eventually, yeah.
Oh, that's great. People in our channel
this guy says Shaq and Daxter.
Nice. I would play that.
Oh, dude, Jack and Daxter.
How close?
I heard they're making another one, a fourth one or something.
There.
A new Jack and Daxter, yeah.
How close is the Shaq Fu 2 game to releasing? Is this going to be a holiday release this year? I need a pencil here.
Holy crap, wait a minute. This can't be right. This was published in freaking March of 2014. But that looks legit. I mean, no one could have made that trailer unless they are unbelievably...
So,
you know, I haven't followed the development of Shaq Fu 2, so maybe it's out.
Time. They're actually doing a thorough job.
Yeah. Giving it the treatment
because it was kickstarted. Looks like it was kickstarted, right?
Oh, kind of like the Shenmue.
Okay,
3
hold on.
that they're doing now.
Shaq's got the money. If he wants a game about himself, he can freaking pay for it.
Oh, totally. But why pay for it?
Well, I don't know if it was kickstarted, but I saw something related over here on the sidebar, and it says something about kicked, and it has like the green circle.
Huh.
Interesting.
But yeah, Shaq is actually in this video that I'm watching right now.
Wow.
Let's see what he says.
He's gonna plead with you. He's like,
he's gonna say,
but
it has two sides. Use ice to dull the pain and hot to numb the pain. What?
Oh man, is Shaq just there?
Yeah, he's freaking promoting it. He's here talking about it.
Wearing his rattiest clothes, like
that's freaking whack, man. I would have just had Shaq freaking kickstarted himself.
Seriously. Yeah, that's funny.
Shaq started.
Shaq starter.
Their website, shackstarter.com, and you put your projects up, and Shaq will decide if he wants to.
Shaq if he wants it's good, he'll Shaq start.
Yeah, if he thinks it's good, he'll put it up.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's hysterical. All right, we're gonna move on now. It's all right with you guys. So Anvil of Doom has got our last question here, the last topic we're going to talk about here on this podcast. Are there any games or game franchises that you like or respect but have not actually played yourselves? Now, this was true for me of a lot of the PlayStation games because we never really had a PlayStation growing up.
Right.
So, you know, I was a fan, more or less, of the Final Fantasy games before I had actually played any of them. Yeah, do you guys have anything here?
I mean, I would say like Baldur's Gate, but I mean, technically speaking, I've played about 20 minutes of that, so I don't know if that just counts it.
So Anvil, does this count? Anvil will moderate whether your comment counts, Mike.
I mean, if he means play, if you haven't played, meaning you haven't like really gotten into before.
I would
say
assume
Baldur's Gate.
he means that you've never played it, period. But, I mean, we can take this as far as we want here.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about games I've never, ever picked up in any capacity myself at all.
Legend of Dragoon.
That game looks sweet.
We played that, man. We
did, but I didn't personally play it. You did. How does this count? We're blurring the lines here.
Yeah, what's Anvil's criteria? I'm trying
remember, I think that was the hardest we ever laughed on a stream because he was like,
yeah, he was upset about the door.
God, it's locked.
Yeah.
That was so funny. That was my favorite line of all video games ever.
Total
Wait, by the way, somebody said something on one of our videos a few days ago. Mike, I don't remember if you saw this or not, but somebody said that like our YouTube channel was like sick. Like, oh, Dark Pixel, these guys are sick. And someone commented saying this guy are sick. And it was the freaking best comments I'd ever seen.
Yep, I did see that one.
Oh, it was beautiful. I can't remember who did it. I want to give him credit. That was too smart.
If we're going back to stuff on this that was on the Super Nintendo that's apparently good enough to be on the Classic. I never played Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I never played any Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh, yeah, I didn't either, actually.
I never played any of those. There's a lot of stuff on Genesis I missed as well.
You know what? I never actually played Luigi's Mansion.
Oh,
I never actually played that game. That game looked really cool, really fun.
Do you respect it?
I respect it. I respect the L, the green man, the green jump man.
Green man.
Yeah, I wish I played it. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know the gameplay. I never played that game, but I respect it.
It's hard to say. Like, I mean, there's probably some RPGs I could mention that I didn't play back in the day, but.
Fire Emblem. I haven't actually played a Fire Emblem game.
That's one I have not played either.
Unless Fire Emblem Heroes or
the new phone game.
The phone game counts.
I don't think that counts.
I haven't played any legit Fire Emblem games, so that has to be one for me.
And then you like and respect it because of Smash Brothers, and those
because
are always the best character.
Well, the thing is with Melee, it was like these guys are like Marth. Right. This dude's freaking sweet. What the fetch?
Yeah.
I thought I knew Nintendo. Where did this guy come from?
Where did this guy come from?
Yeah. I was excited about him, so my respect mostly comes from Marth as a fighter, because I played him a lot.
You respect him as a fighter?
Again, I've dabbled in BioShock, but not very much. But I think that's a game series that I'm not interested in playing ever, but that I respect for its unique storytelling. So
yeah, that would be a good example of a game that has like gameplay that is polarizing, but like a storyline that's really intriguing.
The first one especially, the way it makes you think about why you do things in video games. It was just great.
Yeah.
I love it. This is tricky.
Sort of like a meta message there,
right?
Exactly.
Because it's not me doing it. Well, but is it?
Yeah, it's very much like.
Would you have done that? Yeah.
The Stanley Parable. Have either of you guys gotten to try the Stanley Parable by chance?
I don't know. Nope. I don't think so.
So I
would say no.
Krista's brother was showing it to me, and game's nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more there is to it because you could technically finish it very quickly, but I think there's a lot of different branching paths. But that anyways, along the same vein as BioShock, where the gameplay is trying to tell you something. But I played that, so played it, respect it, but I played it. Doesn't count. I've never played any of the Doom games myself. So I did play Chex Quest though, which is essentially Doom.
There you go. It's a Doom remake.
A Doom remake. So I have a lot of respect for Doom, the heritage of Doom, and Wolfenstein. Never played any Wolfenstein games, but
a game that I've never played that I don't respect.
Well, what?
Duke Nukem.
Oh yeah. I'm with you there.
No respect and never played.
I remember going to my friend Jamil's house when I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. And he had Duke Nukem.
Did he have Duke Nukem?
He was showing me Duke Nukem. He's like, dude, you go over here and there's like a picture of a girl on the wall. And he was like showing me all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, my mom's going to be so mad at me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what is this game? What the heck?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Probably lots. I would have to say most stuff I missed was on Genesis, though. Or not just Genesis.
That's
Sega
right.
in general.
Yeah, Sega. We never really had
Sega stuff.
I have a deep respect for Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator,
yes,
dude.
Goat Simulator.
Based on the YouTube videos I've watched, I do too. That is a smart game right there.
Oh my gosh. Deadly Premonition. I have never technically played myself. Just watched Parker play it.
That's true. Yeah. I haven't either because it crashes every time I try to load it up.
It doesn't. That's part of the meta message of the
You did play it, Mike. You didn't realize.
It's a legitimate point. It's a legitimate point. I played it in a way nobody else has experienced.
You had a unique experience. Oh, that's great.
Oh, I've never played any of Suda 51's games as well. Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that really dig Suda 51, so never played any of those. People were so stoked about what was it? Is it No More Heroes or what am I trying to think?
The one coming out on the Switch?
Well, the one that he
No More Heroes.
Yeah,
No More Heroes and No More Heroes 2 on the Wii.
Never played any of those games, but I hear people rave about them all the time. So
violent as fetch, but it's supposed to be pretty good.
Sometimes you just got to be violent as fetch. It's the moral here.
You know, I didn't realize that Yasumi Matsuno, the writer behind Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, director of both of those games, and started on 12. Freaking wrote the story for Mad World.
Oh, really? I forgot about that.
That freaking really violent, monochromatic,
was that
black
like
and
an
white
Xbox
game on no, it was on Wii.
Oh,
it was on the Wii. That was the weirdest part.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a super violent game, right? Like black and white, except for the blood, basically.
That's right.
He wrote that fetching game, dude. I couldn't believe that.
Holy crap!
Oh my gosh!
I think I'm right.
It's a man of many talents. He has a diverse range of writing
publisher,
abilities.
Sega, director, guy, designers, artists, writers, Yasumi Matsuno.
I knew we were missing something. Sega made every game they've ever made available on the iOS and Google Play, or at least they're about to. Dang it! I should have looked this up.
Ever made?
Yeah, it's called Sega.
It was like a Sega Genesis collection.
No, it's Sega everything. Hold on, let me get this.
Sega
get this. Sega smartphone, because this is big deal, and you can now play classic Sega games.
4 days ago, Sega Forever.
Yeah, Sega Forever.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about.
So
is it just Genesis games?
It's classic titles. Japanese Sega Forever, so it's been up since last week. The service adapts the company's retro games to Android and iOS devices. Anyways, talking about how we never got to play a lot of Sega games, but we have mad respect for them.
From every Sega console, from the SG-1000 to the Dreamcast. Wow.
Yeah, every single game. But does it include things like Sega Gaga or the Japan ones, you know? I want to play that. Anyways, I don't know. We don't have much to say about this, but just so you guys know, you can play every Sega game ever on your phone now.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. Just wasn't a Sega kid growing up. We were Nintendo kids, and I wanted a Game Gear. Thought that was sick, but so a lot of Sega stuff I missed out on.
Yeah.
Nothing else comes to my mind.
It seems as though we are coming to the end of this podcast. Unless, Mike, you have another franchise you respect but haven't played.
I have no respect for any other franchises.
There you go. None other. You heard it here. No
more respects to give.
Nothing comes to mind, but I'm sure there's
one like equals one respect. On our video on YouTube, one like equals one respect. So
there you go.
If you
remember when we were talking about, we were like soliciting likes on one of our streams, and people started disliking our video, and so then we'd bring it up like, oh, don't do that, and then they'd take it away, and then they'd put it
like, and then
people were like going back and forth disliking our videos, like just messing with us. That was actually pretty funny.
We were just like rats in a cage, man.
Whoever did that, comment please, because I know you watched this podcast all the way to the end. Let me know who you are so I can tell you not to do that again.
Don't do that, man. Yeah.
Okay. So, podcast is over, but because you guys are cool and you are still listening this late, I gotta let you know that next time you hear from me, I will be a father of a daughter. My wife will guaranteed be induced.
She has to now.
She will be induced on July 3rd if she doesn't have the baby by then. I don't know if you guys knew that. My wife has been pregnant for the past 9 freaking months, and I'm going to be a dad. So look forward to hearing my kid cry in my videos from now on.
We need to get our podcast set up to where we have a freaking soundboard with like freaking fanfares and stuff on
it. Dude.
Yeah, have like an applause and exclusive.
Yeah, that'd be a great one.
That'd be a great soundboard.
Or, you know,
oh, there is a soundboard that we can use in the meantime. Oh, what is it? The Tommy Wiseau.
The
website
soundboard. You can do that right now because like it would pick it up.
Would it? Oh, I'm not hooked up to my speakers.
No, it would.
Or like.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Congratulations.
The room.
Blue Wizard needs food.
Food badly.
Oh, the room sound.
You found anything for my princess.
That's what I'll be saying, right?
Oh my gosh!
Oh, this is my favorite thing.
If you guys haven't seen The Room, if you don't know Tommy Wiseau, you guys gotta look it up. Anyways,
I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh,
here it is.
Hey everybody! I have an announcement to make.
Oh no.
We're expecting.
Oh my god.
There we go.
There's your announcement.
Okay, there it is.
Get a soundboard up and running.
We'll get a soundboard.
Custom Dark Pixel soundboard. Hey, tell us what you want on soundboard.
Tell us what you want.
Tell us what would be great. What Earthworm Jim quotes are the best to
Kinzer.
put on?
What else does he even say?
I don't remember.
Oh gosh, I can't remember. There was like 2 lines, at least one other line. I can't remember it.
It's back in the day when it was really tough to have characters say anything in a video.
It's true. He also had a TV show though, so maybe we should just go back and scour that for a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
All right, everybody, you're all beasts. Thanks for watching. This is the Dark Pixel Podcast. We do videos on YouTube, as well as this podcast can be found on iTunes and such, audio only. On YouTube, we are Dark Pixel or Dark Pixel Gaming. One of them does short films. The other channel is more for gaming content. I'll let you decide which. I'll let you guess which is which. And we do this like every Wednesday morning. So you're all beasts. Once again, no video. Sorry you can't see our faces. But next week. I promise, next week. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, listening, or watching, or just listening. Peace out.
See ya.